All right, guys, we're on something here. Let's see what we got.
Some fish are legendary, some are sacred, and some will test everything you've got. Across North America, indigenous tribes have fished these waters for centuries, carving traditions, ceremonies, and survival from every catch. Now, we travel deep into their ancestral homelands to uncover stories behind the fish that shape their cultures, and catch some absolute giants along the way. From the raging rivers of the Pacific Northwest to the untouched lakes of the Great Plains, we're hooking into monsters that fed generations and diving headfirst into the traditions that keep them alive today. I'm Robert Jacobo, and this is Indigifish, Tribal Tales. Are you ready to chase something big?
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Indigifish. I'm your host, Robert Jacobo, and welcome to my little slice of paradise over here, where we're going to be getting ready to go to the short jetty over here at Nob Hill. And what I'm bringing is going to be this pole here, which is equipped with my nice Carolina rig. And then also, too, we will go ahead and bring our heavy setup. To where it's not too heavy. It's not like our, Carnage 3 over here, where it's, specifically for big giant fish like bluefin tuna or anything like that. These are all going to be spinning reels, right? So over here on the Lindsay pole, we have our Sienna, and that's a Sienna 4000. Then on our heavier rig, we have the Garrett 12,000, the H2 12,000. So those are going to be the rigs that we're using today, and getting out there and getting some fishing done. So what we're going to be using, since we're going towards Nob Hill, we're going to be using mussels. We're going to be using some different lures as well. I'm going to pack my bag with some scents, so that way we can go ahead and use some scents out there. And those scents are by Catman. So just dripped all kinds of water all over myself. Then we have some lures and stuff like that we're going to be using as well. So we're going to get those packed in our bag. And then after that, we're just going to see what the day has for us. So we have about a 4 to 5 hour window where high tide has come down a little bit. Now we're sitting at about 2.7 feet for low tide. And we're going to see if we can't get some work done while that low tide is kind of in a lull. It's not the best time to go when you're right at the peak or the very, very down peak of tide, right? Whether it's super high tide or super low tide. You usually want to go in these in-between hours where a lot of things are changing. But we're going to see what we can do out there. So anyways, guys, stay tuned as I get this stuff wrapped up. So anyways, see you out there. All right, guys, so welcome back. We're on the beach. We're on our way to Nob Hill. It's kind of the same trek that we took the other day, where we kind of walked along the beach and we were fishing for corbina right here in the surf. Now, I know you guys can't see everything, but this is what we're kind of looking at. Obviously, I got to illuminate myself, because if I don't, this is what we're looking at, right? And we're coming up right at sunrise here at about 6:15 a.m. And so what we're going to be doing is fishing with some sand crabs this morning, and going from there, right? So if anything, we got our heavy pole, we have our light rig. We're going to be tossing right here into the surf with the light rig to start, seeing what we can go ahead and grab up. We did collect some sand crabs this morning, and so unfortunately the chest plate yesterday took a little bit of a hit. Now it's able to still hold on to the camera and stuff like that, but it's pretty weak otherwise. It kind of just like falls down and stuff like that. So with the weight of the camera, we'll see how that works if we do get something on, right? But I'm gonna keep you guys informed of it. But you know what? Actually, I'll show you how the chest plate broke. So check it out right here real quick. Right, bam, in the face. So took a paddleboard to the face the other day, just trying to get out there with my fishing pole and stuff. Luckily, we didn't lose the action camera. And so anyways, guys, it was a fun day yesterday fishing on the paddleboard, but we got skunked out there. We only spent so much time on the water, so it wasn't necessarily something that was going to be extremely fruitful, if not within the first 30 minutes. So anyways, guys, I'm going to get back out here. I'm going to start to get my line rigged up with some sand crabs, and let's get fishing this morning. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So, you know, I'm out here. I got the only thing it looks like I may catch is a guy on a surfboard, to be honest. It's always funny. You know, you got to respect everybody that's on the water, but it's always kind of hilarious that they like to follow the waves right into the fishing lines and stuff rather than be patient and wait for the next set. So it is what it is, but I really wish that someone would be like, hey, like if you see somebody fishing from the shore, you know, just be mindful of that. You know, nothing too crazy or anything, but like as a fisherman, it's not that I have any animosity towards people or anything. It's just more so I don't want you to get hurt, man. Like if you ever get hooked or anything like that, it ends up being my problem. So anyways, but yeah, so we've been out here now for a little while. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, we're not even feeling any nibbles or anything like that. Luckily, we haven't gotten any kelp or anything, so that's a win right there. And so, yeah, so the next thing that we're gonna look to do is possibly move down just a little bit more and see if we can't, go ahead and catch something else in that general area, right? So, because I'm not even seeing even down here in the surf and everything, I'm not really even seeing any fish come up or anything like that to go ahead and nibble on all these sand crabs or anything. So I can't say that really that there's anything here. And remember, our first rule of fishing is we got to fish where the fish are, right? So if anything, guys, I think it may be time for us to move a little bit. So, all right, stay tuned. Just kind of looking at it. A lot of my strategy today is going to be to walk along the shore, right, to see if we see anything coming up. Obviously, these waves a little bit more erratic and stuff. We can start to see, you know, birds. Where are they congregating? If they're congregating for fish or bait fish or whatnot. But for the most part, what I want to see is there any movement in the water? Is there anything kicking up its fins or anything like that? Because a lot of these fish, they like to come up in this shoreline and feed on these little sand crabs, especially with the sand crabs having just, you know, hatched and stuff. There's a lot of baby sand crabs. And so what we can see a lot of times is, you know, fish right here in the surf. And so if we spot a fish in the surf, then we can assume, you know, that there's possibly more fish in that general area. And then that's where we want to be. Unless, of course, if we're coming secondhand. Now, like I mentioned before, you know, like everyone's got to be respected on the water. So see how there's surfers right here, right? If there was a fish that popped up right here, right in front of me, I wouldn't take on that aspect of fish right in this general area. Why? Because these guys got here before me, right? Just like vice versa, the other way around, right? If I'm there before them, you know, everybody needs to respect who is there kind of first, right? So if there was a fish there, I wouldn't go after it because I don't want to put anybody in danger with hooks or anything like that, right? So anyways, but now we're walking our way over to the short jetty. We're gonna see what we can see over there and go from there. So far, I haven't really seen anything in this general area, right? I haven't seen any corbina. I haven't seen any croakers or anything like that coming up. The croakers I was normally seen with like their hump back kind of coming up through the surf and stuff. So
but I haven't seen anything just yet as far as scurrying through the water or anything. So, and the water, even though it's still pretty early in the morning and light isn't extremely visible, right? I'm still able to see in the water. So, but anyways, guys, so let's get back to it. I'm walking over to our second spot. If we end up getting to the jetty before we find another spot here on the beach, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna also equip ourselves with some mussels right there for the short jetty. So anyways, stay tuned, guys. I'll let you know when I get there. All right, guys, so we're over here at the short jetty. We didn't really see anything in the surf when we were kind of looking, right? So at the short jetty now, I got 2 poles in the water. You know, just waiting on something to go ahead and bite. We got a couple of sand crabs that are out there right now just doing some work. One on a heavier line, one on a lighter line. And so we'll kind of see where it goes from there. If anything, I'm gonna try to make my way along the short jetty, right? Going towards the end over there where we know that there's some bait fish and stuff like that towards the end. But I wanted to go ahead and get right here into the surf. The only thing is I probably don't want to stay here too long as it becomes more daylight. There is a lot more people that start showing up and stuff. The only thing is that right now we're at the low tide period, right? So to get any more higher tide is definitely going to put us in some strain when being on this short jetty, right? Because the water is already pretty high. So we don't want to go too far out there and get stranded on that jetty. So anyways, guys, we're gonna get back to it. We're gonna keep watching our lines, see what goes on, and see if we can't catch some fish out here. We may switch up to a lure here soon. If nothing else is going, we might switch up to like a Strike King to see about getting some of those calico bass that are possibly in the area. So anyways, guys, I'm looking out for these lines, so stay tuned. Take care. All right, guys, so no success at that spot number 2. Hey, that's what fishing has to be about sometimes. Sometimes it's just testing and experimenting until you get it right. Now, we're gonna move on to spot number 3, but we gotta kind of get there. So, and walking barefoot on this short jetty is not necessarily the most recommended thing in the world. 1, because you can slip. 2, because it hurts a little bit. But it is what it is. We're barefoot this morning and we're making our way through. And so I was thinking about using the Strike King next, guys. This is what it is, kind of like a lure for bass, right? It's gonna imitate bait fish up here with the spinners. And then you have a little bit of flare on there, right? So hopefully we can go ahead and get something moving with that. We'll switch out our Carolina rig and go from there. So that way we can just get some more action in the water, right? So on our heavier line, we have it set up like a Carolina rig with a much heavier weight, right? So that way we can get it out there. It sticks in these waves. I mean, look at these waves that are coming up right now on the jetty. And we want to just be careful of that, right? Because we don't want to get knocked off this jetty either, or get stuck in a really weird predicament where it's just dangerous for us to be out here. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get moving out here. Make sure that we get to that spot number 3 safely. Whoa, that was crazy. So you're gonna have those types of waves from time to time, right, guys? Like little rogue waves and everything. It's nuts, but you know, if you want to fish these jetties sometimes, that's just what you're gonna come across, and it's not necessarily the most desirable thing on the face of the planet. I was just glad that we were able to get that shot. But at the same time that it was cool to get this shot, it is still kind of scary because it's like at any point you could fall off into a pile of rocks just like that, right? Or fall off and have a bunch of weights on your back like I do right now, and not be in a safe predicament. So, all right, we're still armed with sand crabs. So I haven't really found myself in a desirable spot just yet to where I want to pluck some mussels off the rocks. The ones that I've seen so far are really, really small. And so to pluck mussels that are really, really small doesn't really do us too much good, because if we pluck them while they're really small, it's just gonna be, you know, us fighting to really get any of that meat out. And I think this is the spot where we kind of want to be, to where it's not too far out there do we have to worry. But I'm actually gonna go on this side of it right now, and there's a little bit of a deep zone here. So I'm gonna fish this deep zone. Let's see if we can't, you know, get something going. Because to be honest, I really don't want to be on these rocks at a time when it gets really, really bad up here or something. So anyways, let's fish these areas right here and we'll go from there. So stay tuned, guys. All right, guys, so we got ourselves lined up here on the dowel rod with the Garrett reel. So we got that out there, you know, and we got it lined up with the sand crab, 6-ounce sinker, so that way it just stays steady right there in the surf. So what we also had was we had ourselves lined up a Carolina rig here on our smaller pole. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and clip this off and get ourselves lined up with a lure. So that way we can go ahead and just kind of like actively fish, right? Like, it's one thing to stand here all day and wait for your bait to get struck. It's another thing to, you know, be active in the fishing that you're doing too. Like, sometimes it just gets a little bit boring just sitting here and, you know, nothing's happening or whatnot. And then you're sitting here and then you're like, I wonder what's going on. Like, why are the fish not biting, or what, you know, it's just not my day. And it's like, dude, you tried one thing. Like, the only thing that you did was put bait in the water. You know, if that's all you're gonna do, then of course your results are gonna be extremely limited, right? So our goal is to just give ourselves as many chances as we can get, especially in conditions like these where, you know, it might be more advantageous for us to go ahead and actually start fishing with a lure, something like the Strike King here that we're gonna start with at first. And then we'll kind of move through a repertoire of our different lures and stuff. We might use some of our plastics and go from there. Things like swim baits, right? Might go ahead and use those. What we'll do also is we'll actually put like it's a swivel, but it also has like a latch on it, right? So like, I don't know the correct terminology for these things, guys. Just buy them at Walmart from time to time, right? And it's made by Eagle Claw, but basically what it is it is like a swivel, right? But unlike a swivel, only having the two sides that are closed, it also has the one side that allows us to go ahead and put different lures on it at better rates of speed. So we'll go ahead and attach one of those to our main line. So that way, when we're just practicing with these lures, we're able to go through these lures pretty quick, right? Otherwise, we'd be sitting here all day tying knot after knot after knot and not fishing. So we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves as much time on the water as possible. So, but if anything, guys, once again, I mean, I'm not new here, but like,
You know, fishing these jetties and stuff like that, I haven't grown up doing it my whole life and everything like that, and I haven't been ocean fishing my whole life, more so freshwater background. So if any of you have any suggestions or comments or anything, I would love to hear them, because I'm always down to learn more. You know, what time's the best time to fish, or where's the best areas to fish. And I love the fact that somebody told me earlier that they really like the fact that I kind of reveal where I'm fishing, and that a lot of anglers don't do that. And I was actually surprised to hear that, because for me, I actually learned a lot from a lot of different anglers. So anyways, like I said, I was actually pretty surprised to hear that a lot of anglers don't reveal their spots, mainly because, you know, the ocean isn't owned by us. And yeah, do you want to have your nice little secret spot and you don't want it to get overfished or whatnot? Of course, but we want to also share that knowledge with the people that are interested in fishing and interested in respecting the water. And, you know, the overfishing part, that's just it's a risk we got to take sometimes in being stewards. We got to be able to trust our fellow fishermen and stuff like that, with the opportunity given to them, right? Because to try to control that is futile, and it doesn't allow you to live your life and enjoy your life. So that's pretty much the reason why I do it. I'm like, hey, you know, like, I want you to be able to catch fish. I don't want you to go and, you know, go to a spot and then sit there for hours and not catch anything only because I wanted to gatekeep the location of my secret spot. Like, it's like, no. You want to be able to teach as many people as you possibly can, because then that advocates for the stewardship of, like, advocates for good stewardship, right? So we want to be able to teach people as much as we possibly can, so that way, in the end, right, we know that they're going to be good stewards of the land and stuff like that as much as possible. Now, for this Strike King, you see how it's got like this like little thing here, right? And to be honest, I hate those, because what ends up happening is it ends up sliding on one side or the other, and it just gets annoying. So what I like to do sometimes is I like to kind of close that off, right? It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but I like to kind of like loop it, just close it off. And so that way, and I know some of you are looking at this like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's doing that. Let's hope that I can do it successfully. I don't think I did it that successfully, but we'll play it by ear and go from there. So, nope, not that successfully at all. So, I guess we'll just deal with what it is. Let's go Strike King number 1. All right, guys, let's get to it. All right, here we are with cast number 5,784 with the Strike King. And guys, it is just not going, to be honest. Also too, the swells are definitely getting a little bit bigger here on the jetty. So for me, a little bit more worrisome, right? Just more so because you want to be safe, right? And want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in danger. And also, if we end up getting swept away and, you know, can't necessarily swim out of a dangerous situation, then somebody else is going to have to come out here and get us. And it's not cool. Like, there's no reason to put somebody else in that situation as well. So, and I thought we were gonna catch the kelp. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, as you can see, we're starting to get a little bit more waves just pounding away.
at these rocks. Which you would think would be a good thing for like bait wise, right? Like you would think, oh, mussels are getting knocked off and stuff like that. Oh. All right, guys, I think the Strike King is done. I think it has struck out for the most part. The cool thing is that that little looper that we ended up doing, right, ended up working. So it was nice. And it had good motion in the water, just nothing was really following it. As a matter of fact, what I did see was I saw some bait fish that were kind of like right around that area over there, right there. And they were moving around and stuff. You could see small flashes and everything. Anytime that the Strike King would come by, they would flail and just jump out of the way. So let's see if we can't get rigged up with something else. I'm thinking let's go with a swim bait with a little bit of a lead head so we can get some distance on it while simultaneously being able to get those motions. And I think I do have a white swim bait too. So that's going to be the other thing. I know that white tends to be a really good, favorable color when in the ocean. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get this switched out really quick. Let's see what we're going with next. Oh, and the Garrett reel, by the way, just nothing doing so far. I think our sand crab is probably gone. So before we cast out the next one, what we'll do is we'll check on that sand crab out there, because I don't think he's still there anymore, to be honest. I think he's a long goner. So anyways, oh, what am I filling up there? Oh, we have that guy. Use that jig, but no, I don't want to go with the plastic. Yeah. So this is what I want to go with here. Our swim bait, paddle tail, right? And then what we'll also do is we'll get a nice sized lead head to put on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to line this guy up on this swim bait and see if we can go from there, right? So let's go ahead and actually mark kind of like where we want it to come out right there at this little zone. All right, so I'm going to tear a piece of that. I personally like to go in just however way, and then I rotate it afterwards, right? Because that's what we're ultimately wanting to do, is make sure that it comes out of that back. And you can feel where the hook is for the most part, right? So it's coming off a little bit to the side there. And we want to make sure that it stays as centered as possible. And right where our little mark is. Boom, look at that, baby. Yeah. Let me get our swim bait on there. Oh yeah. That's nice. Nice. It's laying as straight as possible. You know, like obviously I'm not a super duper pro at it, but I have to say that it's laying up pretty good. Right? And that lead head definitely gives us some weight in the water. So it's going to keep us down. So I'm excited. And the lead head is, or the swim bait is white. So I'm pretty stoked about that as well. Because white was not mainly in our arsenal for the most part. Now what I also want to do is I want to go ahead and push this up a little bit, so that way it's kind of like on that latch. And I am going to go ahead and bite down on this. Just give it a little extra security there, but that's pretty much what the rig is going to end up looking like. And we're going to get our little paddle tail action there. And so let's go ahead and get that thrown out there. But before we do that, let's pull in this 6-ounce sinker here. that we had connected with the Garrett reel and the dowel pole. Let's see if our sand crab is even still on there. He might have gotten eaten a long time ago, you know, and we just maybe weren't paying attention, or it just fell off with the current and the waves, you know, because I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, our sand crab is long gone. All right, so hey, it is what it is. No, it's fishing. Things got to eat. And sometimes your bait just gets torn right off the line. But that's okay, because guess what? We got more. And they're still alive in my pocket. Definitely not what I wanted. But things happen for a reason. Alrighty. So we're gonna go ahead and get that guy set up there. Look at these guys. I have nice little crabs right here. I wish I was capable of catching these guys. Sure, they would make a nice meal there. But let's go ahead and concentrate on using our paddle tail really quick, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right, guys, let's get casted out. All right, so here we are on the other side of the jetty, and we are going to go ahead and get this thing flung out there. Wow, that had some distance on it. All right, here we go. So we let it sink a little bit, and then we just go ahead and pop. Just let it swim, let it do its thing. But the whole point of that paddle tail, right, is to catch the motion in the ocean and move like a real fish. So what we're hoping is that there's a big old predator under there that's wanting to eat a nice big old fish, big old bait fish, right? Let's see if we can't get it out a little further this time. Nice. So I'm probably casting about maybe 40 yards with this. It's nothing crazy. I'm not one of those guys that's throwing like 120 yards or throwing into international freaking waters. But I mean, I think for the most part my cast gets it done. Just hasn't been getting it done today. Sometimes I like to just make sure that I'm giving it as much motion as possible. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want it to look completely unnatural, but at the same time, I do want to give it motion so that way it looks like a fish, you know, actually doing work, or a fish that's, you know, trying to evade a predator and getting those little fast popping motions. What that ends up doing is it helps it to kind of look like it's eluding like some type of predator. So if something's chasing it, then it's like, oh, I better act on this quick. So then it gets those predator fish to say, I gotta act on this quick, and therefore they start moving a lot faster in order to hit it. And that's what allows us to get these nice strikes. We have got some swells coming. Look at that. Just boom. Whoa. There is some waves coming right now. It's scary, right? But it's also pretty cool. Like, as long as you're paying attention. You know, you want to make sure you're paying attention and you're not taking your eyes off the waves or anything like that. Not taking your eyes off of your location, where you're at, in relation to the rocks and the edge. Right? Because like right there, is hitting really hard, right? So like obviously you wouldn't want to be in that spot. But we're probably gonna get off these rocks here soon, guys. Oh, interesting. I don't know if you guys got to see that. As I was bringing the lead head in, right? A bunch of bait fish just jumped right in front of me, and like they were letting me know, like, hey, we can see your bait or your lead head, right? And there is a group of little bait fish that are like right here eating up, you know, all the stuff that's coming off these rocks with these waves. Here comes another one. Whoa! Look at this. Bam! It's hitting. They are hitting. Yeah. If anything, guys, I've had a lot of fun out here on the jetty, you know, just kind of casting out. But let's make this one our last cast and not be dumb. Right, no reason to get hurt, no reason to get injured, no reason to put anybody in danger. And the tide's only gonna get higher from here. So, and who knows, you know, let's go ahead and move it back to the surf. And there could be some luck in store for us there, right? So, because look at this wave coming up right now. This thing is massive. Boom. Yeah, and we don't want to get caught up on that, right? So, anyways, guys, let's get off these rocks, so stay tuned for some more. All right, guys, another good morning to you, but with some light this time. Anyways, we're off the jetty, right? Jetty's back there. Tide's starting to come up a little bit. We're walking ourselves in the surf, so that way we can go ahead and see if there's any other fish or anything like that that we want to go ahead and attack. I think we're gonna wait to get a little bit closer to Avenue C. I can't anticipate that there's a lot of people on the beach this morning other than the surfers and stuff, right? Which, respectfully, the waves are pretty good out here right now. So, if anything, I think we're gonna wait to get towards Avenue C a little bit here in Redondo and see if we can't get a little bit more luck that way. Right now, we are currently looking at a goose egg, right? But, you know, I can say this, we are safe and sound in the sand, and we're not having to worry about whether or not we're gonna fall, take a tumble on rocks, you know, get cut up in mussels or anything like that, or on barnacles. So, you know, today's a good day. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna get back to it, keep my eyes right here in the surf, and see if we can't come up with something else. So, stay tuned. All right, guys, we're on something here. Let's see what we got. All right. That's a good size right there, bro. All right, guys, so we finally got the skunk off our back after a few hours. A nice size yellow croaker, right? This guy's probably about 2 hands length of mine, so if anything, pretty decent size. Came onto our bait pretty hard. Nice little attack, so it was really nice to be able to get him. Look at that structure right there. These guys just meant to just pick things right there, right close to the bottom. You know, very powerful, and it's kind of cool. You hear them croak and stuff like that from time to time. But anyways, we're gonna get this guy back in the water in a good way, get him back on his way, right? And see if we can't catch another one. But you know, it took a few hours, right, of being out here. And then we finally were able to come across this guy. So if anything, you know, we want to be thankful for that, you know, and let this guy get on his way. Now, here we go. And he's off. All right, guys. So we got the skunk off our back for the day, you know, and we're kind of right here. And I'll show you guys exactly where we're at. So there's like a tractor area, right, where they go ahead and keep the equipment that keeps the beach clean and stuff. And then, you know, we have the Esplanade up that way. So if any of you guys are looking for places to fish on the surf, it's definitely a good spot. The reason why I chose this spot specifically for right now is because of the fact that it has this depression right into high tide. You can see it kind of like comes up right there, right? And these waves, you can see them rolling on their back towards the back end over there. And then they finally break, getting a little closer, but then they fall into another depression right in here. And so that means that there's like a deeper trough right there, especially as high tide comes around, where they're just, the fish are there lurking, right? They're there waiting for sand crabs to come out and, you know, waiting for food to just come and roll right into their mouth. So anyways, guys, let's see if we can't get another sand crab on the line, see if we can't get another croaker on the line, because that was a pretty big one. That was probably the biggest croaker I've caught so far on the beach since my time fishing here. So anyways, guys, stay tuned for more. All right, guys, so we got something else on the line here. It's taking a little nibble. Let's see what we got. Hopefully it doesn't fall off my line. There's another croaker. Yeah. Nice little yellowfin. There we go.
And the one guy here, he takes a picture of everything.
Oh yeah, no, I video everything for the most part. Yeah, there we go. Nice little yellowfin croaker. Second one of the day. I'm glad because we've been out here since like 5:45 this morning. Yeah, so anyways, guys, we got ourselves our yellowfin croaker. Whoop. He's like, get me back in the ocean. Yeah, the one that I got earlier, right before this, was probably about that much bigger. So, yeah, it was nice. Yeah, that's what I want to get, is a Corbina. I haven't got one yet. All right, guys, let's get this fish off in a good way. And he's gone. All right, guys, so we're at the end of our fishing day, right? So anyways, we came out with two croakers. Had ourselves a good time, and if anything, we got to learn a couple of things, that the Corbina are just not biting on what we're delivering, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is making sure that we're getting those sand crabs hooked correctly, right? Making sure we're hooking them right in the back and hiding that hook under the tail. That was what gave us the success in really hooking those croakers. And also too, getting the line a little bit further out there for those croakers, kind of in that first trough that's coming up. The pinnacle of high tide or the pinnacle of low tide, not necessarily the best time. And when I came out here to fish right at dawn, didn't really matter because we weren't really getting that many bites or anything like that, but rather it kind of mattered more when the high tide was kind of rolling in. So if anything, guys, we had ourselves a great time this morning. We're gonna go ahead and call it a day. We're gonna get back upstairs, have some breakfast, and go from there. So anyways, guys, take care.